So dear students, today's topic is about intrinsic muscles of hand, means the muscles which are present in the palmar aspect. So what we see within the hand are intrinsic, means they get origin from the bones of the hand itself and they get inserted within the hand. So such muscles are called as intrinsic muscles. So before going in detail about these intrinsic muscles, the first muscle which we are going to learn here is palmaris brevis. Palmaris brevis, it is a subcutaneous muscle present in the superficial fascia on the medial side of the palm. So morphologically, this palmaris brevis, it represents Panniculus carnosus. So Panniculus carnosus. So what is this Panniculus carnosus? It is a subcutaneous muscle which is present in the lower animals. For example, if you see like calves, buffaloes, if a fly sits over their skin, it just shakes its skin, right? So that is because of a subcutaneous muscle which is present within the skin, which attaches to the skin, called as Panniculus carnosus. But in we humans, we doesn't have any Panniculus carnosus in limbs usually. And this Panniculus carnosus, it is confined to face and neck as facial muscles. But here in the palm, a Panniculus carnosus is present as palmaris brevis. So palmaris brevis, it is a morphologically represents Panniculus carnosus. Let's see its attachments. It gets origin from the flexor retinaculum and palmar aponeurosis. So this triangular one is the palmar aponeurosis, and partly it also attaches to the flexor retinaculum. And insertion, it gets inserted into the skin along the medial border of the hand. So you can see this is the medial border of the hand. So it gets inserted to the skin along the medial border of the hand. So that is its origin and insertion, and it is supplied by superficial branch of ulnar nerve. Superficial branch of ulnar nerve, and as we know, it is just present within the skin. It helps in grasping. So its main action is when an object is grasped tightly in the hand, it is tightly in the hand, we can see the wrinkles on the thenar side. So this medial palmar skin, you can see the wrinkles. So the wrinkles are because of this palmaris brevis muscle, and it helps to prevent the ulnar displacement, means the medial displacement of this hypothenar eminence. So these hypothenar muscles are kept firmly because of this palmaris brevis. The next structure which we are going to learn here is palmar aponeurosis. Palmar aponeurosis, it is the deep fascia of the palm. So it is the modification of the deep fascia of the palm and is thin over the thenar and hypothenar eminences, and it is thick in the central part of the palm. So you can see here it is deficient on each side and it is triangular like. You can see it is like a triangular which is thicker in the central part. On either side it is thin. The palmar aponeurosis is a strong, well-defined part of the deep fascia of the palm which covers the long flexor tendons. So whatever the long flexor tendons, they are all entering, they are all covered by this palmar aponeurosis. And also it covers the superficial palmar arch, which is an arterial arch and venous arch present within the palm. This superficial palmar arch is also kept in position because of palmar aponeurosis. It is triangular in shape, having an apex. So apex is directed towards the wrist. This is apex and the other side is the base. And it is mainly made up of longitudinal fibers and few transverse fibers. So you can see here these are longitudinal fibers, and in between the longitudinal you can see few transverse fibers. Its apex is directed proximally towards the wrist, whereas the base is directed distally towards the roots of the fingers. Let's see the features of palmar aponeurosis. So palmar aponeurosis presents apex, base, medial border and lateral border, and apex is narrow and it is proximal end of palmar aponeurosis, which blends with the flexor retinaculum. So here we have got the flexor retinaculum which is present in front of the carpus. So it blends with the flexor retinaculum, which is also a modification of deep fascia, and its superficial fibers are continuous with the tendon of palmaris longus. So if we see that it continues with the tendon of palmaris longus. Base, it is a broad and distal end of the palmar aponeurosis. You can see here the base which is towards the base of every finger, and it's proximal to the heads of the metacarpals. The base divides into 4 longitudinal slips. So you can see here the 4 longitudinal slips. This is 1, 2, 3 and 4 longitudinal slips. And on each of the medial 4 longitudinal slip, each slip is further divided into 2 slips which blends with the fibrous flexor sheets of the corresponding digits. The digital nerve and the vessels and the tendons of the lumbricals emerge through the intervals between these 4 longitudinal slips. So whatever the gap you are seeing in between 4 longitudinal slip, so this gap, here we can see these gaps are meant for the lumbricals, digital vessels and nerves. So next about the medial border. The medial border we can see here, it gets demarcated by the attachment of palmaris brevis. So medial border, further it continues as the fascia covering the hypothenar muscles. So deep fascia of the hypothenar muscles. It is little thinner on the hypothenar aspect. Next about the lateral border. The lateral edge of the aponeurosis is continuous with the deep fascia covering the thenar eminence. So this side is the thenar eminence which is present over the thumb. So it covers the deep fascia covering the, so it blends with the deep fascia of the thenar muscles, and lateral palmar septum extends inwards from this edge to the first metacarpal bone. Morphologically, palmar aponeurosis represents the degenerated tendons of palmaris longus. So as we know that proximally the palmar aponeurosis, the superficial part of palmar aponeurosis continues as palmaris longus tendon. So morphologically we say that the palmar longus, it splits into 4 tendons, and this gets degenerated to form palmar aponeurosis. So what is the use of having this palmar aponeurosis? It helps to improve the grip of the hand by fixing the skin and protects the underlying tendons. We know that several tendons and nerves are present beneath it. So it protects the underlying tendons, nerves and vessels. One of the clinical aspects associated with palmar aponeurosis is dupuytren's contracture. It is a progressive fibrosis where the interstitial increase in the fibrous tissue. So the gaps between these longitudinals, there the fibrous tissue keeps on increasing. So in the medial part of the palmar aponeurosis, you will mainly find this progressive fibrosis, means the fibrous part of the palmar aponeurosis will increase. Consequently, what happens? The medial part of the aponeurosis, means that this side, the medial side of the aponeurosis undergo progressive thickening to form a permanent contracture, resulting a flexion deformity. So permanently it will result in a contracture or a deformity called as flexion deformity of the little and the ring fingers. So there will be a flexion deformity of the little finger and ring finger. The ring finger is most commonly affected, more than the little, the ring. The proximal and the middle phalanges are acutely flexed. So the proximal phalanx and the middle phalanx, we can see it is acutely flexed like this, but the distal phalanx remains unaffected. So like this. So the proximal phalanx, middle phalanx will be flexed, the distal phalanx will be extended. So it is that is how the deformity looks like. And what is the solution for this? that is the surgery. So a surgical fasciectomy is required if the hand functioning is grossly impaired. Otherwise, they won't go for surgeries for simpler things. So that is about the palmar aponeurosis and dupuytren's contracture. So next, coming to our topic proper, that is intrinsic muscles of hand. There are short muscles whose origin and insertion is confined within the territory of the hand. I told you all in the beginning, they get origin within the hand and gets inserted within the hand. That is the reason they are called as intrinsic muscles, and they are responsible for the skilled movements of the hand and also help in the hand in adjusting the proper gripping, like holding, gripping and all these things. And there are 20 intrinsic muscles in hand, and they all have small motor units. So hence they act as a precision to carry out skilled movements, like we see musicians playing guitar. All these things are all the fine movements of the fingers, even writing skills, all these fine movements of the fingers, it is because of these intrinsic muscles, because they have smaller motor units and they are represented in the larger motor area in the brain. So coming to our intrinsic muscles, we divide them into 5 groups. The 5 groups are thenar muscles, which are present on the thenar side. So what you are seeing here is the thenar muscles, which are thumb muscles going towards the thumb. Hypothenar muscles, which are on the other side for the little finger. Then adductor of the thumb, which is a separate muscle which we are going to discuss. Then we have got lumbricals interosseous, palmar interosseous, dorsal interosseous. So starting with the thenar muscles, here the thenar muscles, they are 3 in number. The 3 are abductor pollicis brevis. The second muscle is flexor pollicis brevis. All are to the thumb, so they are named as pollicis. And the third muscle is opponens pollicis. So let's see how they are present. Abductor pollicis brevis lies most laterally. So the most lateral muscle what you are seeing here is abductor pollicis brevis. Flexor pollicis brevis lies medially. So the most medial muscle what you see is flexor pollicis brevis. Opponens pollicis lies deep between these 2 muscles. So what is sandwiched in between and partly seen is opponens pollicis. So this is how they are related. Most laterally is abductor pollicis brevis, most medially is flexor pollicis brevis, and opponens pollicis, it is in between. And all these 3 are supplied by the median nerve, where they are supplied, to be more specific, they are supplied by the recurrent branch of median nerve having the root value CHT1. So the actions of these thenar muscles are indicated by their names itself. Like abductor pollicis means it helps in abduction, flexor pollicis helps in the flexion of the thumb, and opponens pollicis helps in the opponents of the thumb. So starting with the abductor pollicis brevis. Abductor pollicis brevis, it gets origin from the scaphoid bone and also from the crust of the trapezium and flexor retinaculum. So this is scaphoid, and here is the trapezium, and this is flexor retinaculum. So these 3 sources give its origin, and insertion, you can see it is getting inserted to the lateral side. This is the lateral side because it is towards the thumb. This is the medial side. So we can see here it is getting inserted here, lateral side, that is base of the proximal phalanx of the thumb. So this is the proximal one and this is the distal one. So we can see it is getting inserted to the proximal phalanx of the thumb, and action, as the name suggests, it is the abduction of the thumb. The next muscle is the flexor pollicis brevis. So this is brevis, and flexor pollicis brevis, it has got two heads, a superficial head and a deeper head. Superficial head from the distal border of the flexor retinaculum. So this is the flexor retinaculum. So you can see this part is the superficial head which gets origin from the flexor retinaculum, and deeper head, it gets origin from the deeper to the flexor retinaculum. The bones which are present deeper to it is the trapezium and capitate. So here is the deeper head, this is the deep head which gets origin from the capitate and trapezoid. And insertion, we can see it gets inserted to the lateral side of the proximal phalanx. So this is the proximal phalanx, and we can see it is running till the proximal phalanx. The tendon goes till the proximal phalanx. So lateral side base of the proximal phalanx, it gets inserted, and action, it helps in flexion of the thumb. So it is the most medial most muscle. Opponent's pollicis, and origin of it, you can see here, it gets origin from flexor retinaculum, and also it gets origin from the crust of trapezium, and insertion, it is getting inserted to the lateral border and adjoining lateral half of the palmar aspect of the first metacarpal bone. So this is the first metacarpal bone, this is second, we know, third, fourth and fifth. So you can see here it is getting inserted here. So that is, it is lateral border and it is getting inserted to the adjoining lateral half palmar surface, means anterior side of the first metacarpal bone. So that is the insertion of the opponent's pollicis, and action of opponent's pollicis is opposition of the thumb, as I told earlier, and also because of opposition, you can see it deepens the halo of the thumb. So it deepens the halo of the thumb, providing the grip within the thumb. So the next here we are going to discuss about the adductor pollicis. Adductor pollicis doesn't come under thenar eminence, but it is a thumb muscle, so I will finish it off here. So adductor muscle has a oblique head and a transverse head. So this one is the oblique head, two heads it has got, and this is the transverse head, and it is mainly occupying the web space between the thumb and the index finger. So here it is present. So it is not present in the thenar eminence, adductor pollicis, and contraction of this muscle will help in adduction of the thumb. So that is the adductor pollicis. It gets origin, that is oblique head, it gets origin from the capitate. So here is the capitate bone. And apart from capitate, it also gets origin from the base of second and third metacarpals. So this is the second and third metacarpal bones. So that is the origin of oblique head. Transverse head, it gets origin from the shaft of the third metacarpal. So we know this is first one, this is second, and this is third. So anteriorly from the shaft. So this is the shaft of third metacarpal. So that is the origin. Insertion, all the fibers, they get converged and they get inserted to the medial side base of the proximal phalanx. So this is proximal, this is distal phalanx. So it is getting inserted to the base of the proximal phalanx on the medial side. And as the name suggests, its action is for adduction. So continuing with the next group of muscles, hypothenar, means this side towards the little finger is the hypothenar muscles, and there are three hypothenar muscles, abductor digiti minimi. So the most lateral one, abductor digiti minimi. Digiti minimi means little finger. Then is the flexor digiti minimi. The most medial one is and the one which is sandwiched between these two is opponent's digiti minimi. So these three muscles together forms hypothenar eminence. So abductor digiti minimi is most medially present. This is the medial side. This is the lateral side. So abductor digiti minimi is most medially present. Flexor digiti is most laterally present in relationship with the little finger. And opponent's one which lies deep to these two muscles, and it is like a sandwich between these two muscles. So these hypothenar eminence of the palm of the hand, all of them are supplied by deep branch of ulnar nerve. And the origin, insertion and actions of the thenar and hypothenar muscles, as the name suggests, it means the action is the same. One thing we have to note here, that is the tendons of insertion of flexor digiti minimi along with the abductor digiti minimi on the medial side of the base of the first phalanx. So this is the medial side of the base of the first phalanx. It contains a small sesamoid bone. So starting with this hypothenar, first muscle is the abductor digiti minimi. So this is abductor, which is the most medial muscle, and it gets origin from the pisiform bone. So here is the pisiform. It gets origin from the pisiform and tendons of flexor carpi ulnaris. So the tendon of flexor carpi ulnaris and pisiform gives origin. Flexor carpi ulnaris gives origin, and insertion, that is the medial side or the ulnar side of the base of proximal phalanx of little finger. So this is the base of the proximal, this is the proximal, this is middle, and this is the distal phalanx. So base of medial side, base of the phalanx of little finger. So this is about the abductor digiti minimi. The flexor digiti minimi, it gets origin from the flexor retinaculum and hook of hamate. So this is flexor retinaculum, and along with it we can see hook of hamate, and it is also inserted to the medial side base of the proximal phalanx, proximal, middle and distal. So base of proximal phalanx on its medial side. So as the name suggests, flexor digiti minimi helps in the flexion of the little finger. And ulnar side of the base of the, it gets inserted to the medial side base of the proximal phalanx along with what muscle? Just before we learned, that is abductor digiti minimi. These two muscles, when they are getting inserted, at the site of insertion there may be a sesamoid bone. The next muscle is opponent's digiti minimi. So opponent's digiti minimi, it gets origin from the flexor retinaculum. So this is flexor retinaculum. It also gets origin from the hook of hamate and gets inserted to the medial surface of the shaft of the fifth metacarpal. So this is proximal, middle and distal phalanx, and this is the fifth metacarpal. So first, second, third, fourth and fifth metacarpal. So it gets inserted to the medial side of the fifth metacarpal, and action is for opposition of the little finger with the tip of the thumb, and it deepens the hollow of the palm. So clinical testing of these muscles, that is the thumb muscle, especially the thenar eminence, give a patient a thin paper or a book or a sheet and ask him to grasp it firmly between the thumb and the index finger. So thumb and index finger of both the hands. If the muscles are healthy and acting normally, the thumb will be straight. But if the muscle is paralyzed and not acting because of any injury to the median nerve, the thumb is flexed and the thumb will be flexed at the interphalangeal joint in order to hold it tightly. So this occurs when the adductors are not acting and flexor pollicis muscle will compensate for it. So this test is called as Forman's sign. So next, moving on to the lumbrical muscles, there are 4 lumbrical muscles. Lumbrical means worm-like. So these are worm-like muscles which are present between the tendons. So that is the reason they are called as lumbricals, and they are numbered this is the first lumbrical, second, I am writing over it, and the third and fourth. So there are 4 lumbricals. They are small slender muscles, one for each digit they are present, and they are named lumbricals because they are elongated worm-like shape. So lumbrical means earthworm. So that is the reason it is called lumbrical muscle. And these lumbricals, if you see the first and second lumbrical, I will write here first and second lumbrical, they get origin from the lateral side 2 tendons of flexor digitorum profundus. So this is the lateral side, this is the medial side. So the lateral side, here is the first flexor digitorum profundus, first 2 tendons. So it gets origin from the lateral side, lateral 2 tendons of flexor digitorum profundus muscle. Next, third and fourth lumbricals, they get adjacent sides of the medial third and fourth flexor. So you can see here, I will erase for you to see. So you can see here the muscle gets origin from the adjacent side, both the sides, and they converge to form a single muscle from both sides. So adjacent side of the second, third, fourth tendons. So they get adjacent side of the medial 3 tendons of the flexor digitorum profundus. So that is about the origin. Insertion, the tendons cross the radial side metacarpophalangeal joints and they get inserted to the lateral side of the dorsal digital expansion. So they go and they get inserted to the lateral side, means towards the thumb. So here you can see 1, 2 and 3 and 4. So all get inserted to the lateral side into dorsal digital expansion on the dorsal side of the palm. So that is the insertion, and corresponding digits it gets inserted from 2nd to 5th. The intrinsic muscles in the hand, they are all innervated by either the branches of the ulnar nerve or from the branches of the median nerve. So here the lumbricals, the first 2 lumbricals, they are supplied by the median nerve, and the last 2 lumbricals, third and fourth, they are supplied by the ulnar nerve. So next, moving on to interosseous muscle. Interosseous muscle means it is in between the bones. Ossi means bones, inter means in between. So these muscles, you see, they get origin from the shafts of the metacarpal bones, and they are present between the metacarpals and palmar side and the dorsal side. There are 4 anteriorly we can see the 4 palmar interossei. So this is the picture for palmar interossei. So this is first, second, third and fourth. And the first palmar interossei, it gets origin from the medial side of the shaft of the first metacarpal bone. So this is lateral side of the hand, this is medial side towards the little finger. So we can see it gets origin here and it inserts into the base of the medial side of the proximal phalanx. This is proximal, this is distal phalanx. So you can see the second also gets origin from the medial side and gets inserted to the base of the proximal phalanx, whereas the third, it gets origin from the lateral side, not on the medial side. It gets origin from the lateral side and it gets inserted to the base of the proximal phalanx on the lateral side. Fourth also, it gets origin from the shaft, that is from the lateral side of the shaft of the metacarpal bone, that is fifth metacarpal, and gets inserted to the proximal phalanx on the lateral side. So if we observe here, the middle one, this one. So the middle metacarpal bone doesn't have any attachment to this palmar interossei muscles. Remember, palmar interossei pad. And for dorsal interossei, dab. For remembering the actions. So palmar interossei helps in adduction. So palmar interossei helps in adduction. So its main action is the adduction of the fingers, whereas the dorsal interossei helps in abduction. So these palmar interossei muscles, they are unipinnate muscles, whereas the dorsal interossei muscles, they are bipinnate muscles. So we can see there are 4 dorsal interossei muscles, and dorsal interossei muscles are bipinnate. You can see it gets origin from both adjacent bones, and we can see it is getting inserted to the base of the phalanx. But here for the middle one, we see both the sides it gets attachment, whereas the little finger doesn't have any insertion, and not for the thumb also. So this is the first dorsal interossei, this is second, and in between this is third, and this is the fourth dorsal interossei muscle. So not only they helps in abduction, dab means abduction. So dorsal interossei helps in abduction of the fingers. Apart from abduction and adduction, both palmar and dorsal interossei, they flex the metacarpophalangeal joints. So they flex the metacarpophalangeal joints and extends the interphalangeal joints. So the joints, digits of the second, fourth and fifth digits. So that is the action of the dorsal and palmar interossei apart from abduction and adduction. And these interossei, they are all supplied by the deep branch of ulnar nerve. Let's see some more points about the nerve supply. We shall conclude in a nutshell in the nerve supply. So the median nerve, ulnar nerve, we know they supply the muscles of hand, but mainly by the ulnar nerve. Most of the muscles is by ulnar nerve. So first we shall discuss the median nerve. To remember the intrinsic muscles of hand innervated by the median nerve, you can remember a mnemonic, meatloaf. So median nerve innervates lumbricals, M for the median nerve. It innervates L for the lumbricals. So first and second lumbricals, and it gets innervated O for the opponent's pollicis. Then A for the abductor pollicis brevis. Abductor pollicis brevis is for the A, and F for the flexor pollicis brevis. So these are the muscles supplied by the median nerve. M for the median nerve, and lobe, L for lumbricals, O for opponens pollicis, A for abductor pollicis brevis, F for flexor pollicis brevis. Non-meatloaf means all other intrinsics, they are all supplied by the ulnar nerve. So if we see more in detail about this flexor pollicis brevis, that is the superficial head of this flexor pollicis brevis, it is supplied by the recurrent branch of median nerve, whereas the deep head of flexor pollicis brevis, it is innervated by the deep branch of ulnar nerve. So flexor pollicis brevis is having a dual nerve supply, means it is having the supply from the median nerve as well as from the ulnar nerve. Such muscles are called as hybrid muscles, which get having two innervations of separate nerve fibers. So ulnar nerve has got a superficial branch and deep branch. Superficial branch supplies palmaris brevis, whereas the deep branch, it supplies deep head of flexor pollicis brevis, that is to the thumb, and also to all hypothenar muscles, that is abductor digiti minimi and flexor digiti minimi and opponens digiti minimi and lumbricals, that is the third, fourth lumbricals, and it also supplies adductor pollicis also. I told adductor pollicis is not a thenar muscle, so adductor pollicis and palmar, that is volar interossei or palmar interossei and dorsal interossei. So all these muscles are supplied by the deep branch of ulnar nerve. So this completes the intrinsic muscles, their origin, insertion, nerve supply and action. Thank you.